As you know, I'm an atheist. But I sometimes get pissed off with other atheists, and a lot of Christians won't do the thing that I do, that Sam Harris says that a lot of Christians don't do, that a lot of atheists do, and that's point out the problems with other atheists. Christians don't really point out the problems with other Christians. They'll say, well, at least they're doing their Christian duty. You know, a lot of times it does get political, because that's the way it is. It's not necessarily true, but, you know, they're still kind of accepted. I would say that a lot of Christians do point out foul shit with other Christians. Even on the level of they're not being Christ-like or Christian. Look at Chris Hedges. He points out right-wing Christians all the fucking time, and he's definitely very left-wing and was associated with the Occupy movement and is a Christian. So, I like that guy. I think he's a cool guy. He's a little bitter, but I think that's fair. Atheists do that too. Like, they'll say shit like, don't use the Bible to try and influence people, despite the fact that there is a verse, 1631 Proverbs, that says older men are better because they're righteous. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't influence 75% of the country, of 75% of young women to like older men. Don't do that. That's not scientific. Well, they're Christians. And the science stacks up with that and says that older men are more experienced, like 40-year-old men are more experienced than 21-year-old men, and are usually wiser than 21-year-old man, and also more understanding and more willing to listen and expect you to be nicer, and are usually nicer. Like, if you're a 21-year-old woman and you're dating a 40-year-old man, you're probably going to find most of the time your 40-year-old boyfriend was way better than your 21-year-old boyfriend. Just admit facts here. From your own experience, older men are better to date. The Bible says that older men are more righteous. The science says that older men have less testosterone, so they're less gung-ho about fighting and shit. And of course there's all sorts of older men that just have never had sex. I knew a guy that's like 30, was born 1983, and had never had sex before. And he thought he was the most intelligent, most handsome, most charming man ever, and all he did is talk to himself, and I made him leave because he was annoying as shit. The way I am here is the way he was amongst people. I'm like this around myself only. Amongst people, I'm about them, I'm listening, and I'm having conversations. But this dude that I knew was all about monologues around other people. I don't monologue around other people. If I was a stand-up comedian, I would do it on stage. But again, that's a no true Scotsman, because I can do stand-up comedy on YouTube and I'm still a stand-up. If you call me a troll, you don't get it. Just because I'm on the internet doesn't mean that I'm not a comedian or an inspirational speaker or a spoken word artist. You running your mouth talking shit means that you don't get it. What I'm saying is, the older man thing is in the Bible, it's in science, and it's in your own experience. Darlings, I can use the Bible because it's backed up with science for this case. The science doesn't back up a lot of what the Bible says. Let's face it, a lot of the Bible is just bullshit and figurative speaking and stuff that is straight up immoral. And that's why I'm not a Christian. I'm an atheist. And an anti-theist when I need to be. And a contrarian too sometimes. But I don't go into churches and start rallying against Christianity. I look for the good. As Sam Harris says again, you have to look for and follow the angels of your better nature. Now, is Sam Harris saying angels pissing you off as an atheist? Does it piss you off that an atheist will go to a church meeting and hang out with the Christians? Well, politically, if you're a socialist, we're all in this together. If you're a atheist separatist, and there are plenty of them, you're probably a classist and you don't understand democratic socialism, Bernie Sanders, AOC, and a lot of the new progressives, which are mostly women of color. So you being there saying don't use the Bible because you're an atheist makes you seem like a fucking idiot and an asshole. Because science does back up some stuff in the Bible. Your own experience backs up some stuff. This guy was like 21. He thought he knew everything. But clearly, this arrogant motherfucker did not. There are plenty of arrogant commies and anarchists and socialists that are so verbose and have to argue with everybody that they will never spark a revolution unless it's amongst people that are college professors. The whole armchair psychology thing is so... Well, I hate that shit. It's like you read the DSM, or you saw your friend go into therapy, or your kid, so you think you're a psychologist. My stepdad does this all the time. He thinks he knows more than me, and he thinks that he knows psychology as well as a psychologist because his stepson, me, has been in therapy before. He doesn't. He's a lot of people call my stepdad a fucking retard because he acts smarter than he really is, and he acts more arrogant than he really is. And I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but I'm saying that he's full of shit, and he thinks he knows better than everybody else because he listened to a couple things. Again, back it up with science and back it up with the experience of a lot of people. He'll say stuff like, oh, I was 40 and I was trying to date 20-year-olds and it didn't work out for me, so therefore it won't work out for you. Well, he's said some very sexist, misogynistic things growing up that were kind of funny, but also kind of gross too. So it's clear to me why my stepdad was not hooking up with young women. And just because I haven't yet doesn't mean that I won't. I need opportune moments. You, whoever you are, running your mouth about me, talking shit, need to shut up. You threatening me with any kind of violence need to stop. And you also, like, running up to kiss a chick as soon as she's smiling at me or talking about anything left-wing and political, when I'm right there, all of that is bitch behavior and you're a cockblock. So I can use the Bible if it's backed up by science and experience. Older men are better to date. If you're in your 20s and a woman, you should date a man in his 40s or 50s. If you're using him as a bank and as a money source, you're a classist and you don't understand it. Run pockets, old man. How is that of Bernie Sanders? You're out of touch, don't you think?